Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be using just stencils to create a really quick and simple journal page. So starting in my Disillusions journal, I have pasted down, or not pasted, clipped down my stencil just to make sure that it's going to stay still, because I'm actually going to be using lots of different colours in this. This is called the Circle Tile Stencil from Stencil Girl. And I really love it because it's very quilty, patchworky, and I thought it'd be a really fun way to get a nice bright rainbow background into my journal. So I'm just using a sponge, putting out my paint on the side and then just carefully stenciling in. Now I've started off with lighter colours first, and then I'm going to my darker colours, because if I accidentally stencil over a lighter colour, it's not going to be too much of an issue. You can obviously use stencil brushes, so be really precise. I'm using the same sponge and just sort of squeezing it in to get into those small nooks and crannies. But, you know, you can be really particular if you wanted to be. It doesn't really matter if the colours blend together, because obviously it is still just a background. So now I've finished my warm colours, I'm going into my cooler colours, the blues. You can kind of see most of the areas are split up into 4 or 5 different parts, so I'm trying to put a little bit of colour in each of the squares to even it up. And you can see as I'm finishing off the paint, I'm getting rid of my excess on the left hand side page. So that's a bonus background that I can use for another day, which is really, really simple. I quite often do this when I'm journaling. If it's not into my journal on the opposite page, it will go into another journal page, because I hate wasting paint. It's one of my pet peeves. So just keep going and adding in the colour. So now I'm down to my purples, and some of the colours, I tried to keep the colours as separate as possible, you know, and purples not touching purples and so on. When you get down to the end, it gets a little bit trickier, but you can sort of just make it all fit in. It's all good. It really doesn't matter. Again, you have to remind yourself that you are doing a background. So once I have finished, I'm adding in one more colour with a dark blue, just to finish off those final few little bits and pieces that I have gaps in. And you can see I've used the same sponge over and over again, so I'm not necessarily getting true colour every time, but I am getting a nice range of colours on there. Now I'm going to remove my stencil, and you can see what my end piece is. I did put a piece of washi down the side just so I had a nice border around my whole page, because obviously the stencil itself has a border around it, and 3 of the edges would have that. I wanted to create a 4th edge. I then also used my paint pen just to put a black edge around it, just to finish it off, and I was really pleased with how that ended up looking. At the end of the video, you will see how I've done a similar piece using a vase of flowers, but for that I actually used watercolour. So I'm not brilliant at using watercolour through stencils. I know there's some amazing people who can do that, but I found it just seeped under the edge a little bit, which annoyed me somewhat. However, in the final piece, it really didn't matter. You didn't see much of that, which is really good. So I want to have a really bold image over top of this, because obviously it's quite a bright background. So I'm going in with some black gesso and using the Prettiest Peacock stencil over the top, just drying it off. And then, because it's got a little bit of a flat top, I'm just turning it slightly just to get the last little bit of bouffant in her hair. I'm then extending down her shoulders, so I'm actually grounding her onto the page a little bit. Once I've done that, I'm going to then add in another mask stencil. This one's called the You've Got Time stencil, or mask, sorry, and I'm just filling that in. So I'm sort of creating this shadow of a body, and I like the fact it's just got the U in there. The other words didn't sort of fit in. Again, you could use any stencil to do that, but this one's quite a fun one. Finally, I'm going in with a paint pen and adding in some highlights. The first one I always add in is in the eyes, putting those little catch lights in there. It just brings the face to life again. I'm just going around really roughly with my white pen and just adding a little bit of a highlight in each of the black. One, it sort of brightens the black just a little bit, helps sort of blend it into the page a little bit more, and 2, it just adds that little bit of extra interest, sort of balance that black and white a wee bit. So I'm also going in and just doing a bit of a drop shadow on the letters and edging around some of the sparkly little pieces. Just to make the letters stand out a little bit, I'm going in with a warm grey alcohol marker on the inside to add a little bit of a shadow, and then I've gone in and drawn in an iris using a neon gel pen. To finish it off, because I had lots of black paint left, I'm just going in with this rainbow quote page to create my quote at the top of the page. Your true colours are beautiful like a rainbow, which is a song I used to sing in choir and used to love. So it just sort of helped balance out the page a little bit. And again, you can see I've gone back to the other page and used up the excess black paint. So I've got a really funky background that I can use for another page. To finish off, I'm just going through and again putting a highlight on each of my letters to help pop them out from the background. And it's just a really easy way to finish off your page. So you can see the close-up here of how everything works, how I've finished the eyes off, the highlights on the letters and in the hair, and how the background looks as a whole. And this is the entire piece. It was really quick to create this. It only took about half an hour, and it's all created using stencils. Here you can see the watercolor background and how it's just that little bit looser. You can see sort of where bits and pieces have bled through, but again, it's quite organic with the flowers, so it works. So I hope you have a go at doing this. Check out the description box below for all the links, and go to the blog page where you can see where all these stencils come from. Until next time, bye for now.